to the Mayor's Forum. Today, my guest is Jim Rutala, who is the president of Rutala Associates. Jim is here today to talk about the Community Rating System, or CRS program, and what effects it has on Egg Harbor Township. Good to see you, Jim.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yep, it's been a long time.
Yep.
Can you just give us a little background on yourself and what your business
Sure,
do?
definitely. I've been in Atlantic County my whole professional career, about 30 years. Started as a county planning director and moved around since then. And for the last 7 years, I had my own firm, Rutala Associates. We do planning and grant work for many of the communities throughout Atlantic County.
Right. So what exactly is the Community Rating System, or CRS, that you've been working on successfully?
Yes, the CRS program is a voluntary program. Communities that have areas that are in the floodplain are allowed to participate, and basically it's a way to get discounts on flood insurance for your residents. And there's a set criteria that you follow for that.
And what can the township residents expect from this program?
Well, we have really good news. The township will enter the program this fall as what's a Class 5 community. And just to break it down, the average person pays about $2,000 a year on flood insurance.
How much?
About $2,000 average. Some much higher, some a little lower. The savings is $500 on 20, because the township has gotten involved in this program. It's a significant amount for families and property owners.
You know, one of the things a lot of people don't understand about Egg Harbor Township, and most of this is related to people who are close to the water. Egg Harbor Township has probably more waterfront than any other town in the state of New Jersey. If you look at the map of Egg Harbor Township, it goes from West Atlantic City, behind Atlantic City, behind Ventnor, behind Margate, Longport, Ocean City, Summers Point, all the way up to Mays Landing. I can't imagine any other town that would have that much waterfront. So this really affects a lot of people in our town.
It does affect a lot of property owners.
What can you explain the rating system and the different levels to it?
Yeah, there are actually 17 different criteria that you have to follow. Everything from open space protection, which the township has done an excellent job on, to public participation and getting the public involved, educating the public about the floodplain. And all those things are things that we've been doing with your staff for the last year. And that's how we've gotten to this level of a Class 5 community.
That's great. What are other municipalities in the county doing?
There's a big range. Some communities aren't even in the program yet. Some communities are a Class 5. Class 5 is the highest level in Atlantic County. So you've already achieved what many communities have been working on for years.
So we're at 5? I thought we were at 4.
Class 4, Class 5, I'm sorry. It'll be a Class 5, which
is
a 20, yes, which is a 25% discount.
Right.
Class 4 requires a watershed management plan, which is kind of at the next step, the next criteria. But there's no towns in Atlantic County or in New Jersey that are Class 4 right now.
Okay. Now, how does a resident know they're getting? Do they have to notify their flood insurance?
Not at all. When they when individuals sign up for their flood insurance after October 1st of this year, or when they renew their flood insurance, when they receive their bill, it will say Community Rating System, 25% discount.
Wow.
And
that's a
so
big deal.
It's right on their bill. The FEMA will contact all the local flood insurance, all the local insurance companies. They're aware of this,
right.
And it's right on their bill, so it's clear for everyone
great.
to see. The only caveat is they have to be part of the federal flood insurance program, which most people are.
Yeah, I mean, who isn't?
Right. There's some private flood insurance companies, and if that's the case, then obviously they don't get this discount. But all the federal flood insurance folks will.
Right. One of the things that worries me is the Congress wants to get out of the flood insurance. They don't think they should be in it, and if it just goes to private insurance company, rates are going to go through the roof.
You're right. There's a huge debate this summer.
What's it called? The Great something or other?
Waters.
The Big Water Bill,
Biggest
right?
Waters Act.
The Act.
Has to be reinstated by September 1st. And there'll be a lot of debate. Congressman Lobiondo is right in the middle of it.
Sure.
And you're right, it is a major issue on the federal docket this year.
You know, a lot of people don't understand what Frank Lobiondo does for our area. But, you know, that's a fight he's going to have to put up. And every congressman and every senator that has waterfront in their district is going to be out there, I would hope, fighting to protect what has been really great for us here locally, because we're susceptible to the hurricanes.
Most definitely. The congressman has been a big advocate for federal flood insurance. And as you know, 4 years ago when the bill was renewed, he went to bat and actually created a new bill, which was to reduce the cost to homeowners. Right. So has been very engaged in this issue.
Well, Jim, we're going to take a short break for some community events, and then when we come back, we're going to continue talking about this really exciting program that's going to have a benefit to a lot of our residents. Stick with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Mayor's Forum. Today's guest is Jim Rutala from Rutala Associates, and we're going to continue talking about this CRS program and what are some of the things that the township has done to precipitate this.
You know, the township, we've done an awful lot, and a lot of accolades to your team, because a lot of folks from the township staff were involved in this effort. We had a workshop that was open to all the residents in the township on flood insurance, and really explained flood insurance issues, explained ways that they can reduce their cost. We actually took applications for people to elevate their homes, so that we have that process as well, because there is federal money to help elevate homes, and which was very helpful. So, and this will continue. These are going to be annual events that will be held to really help the residents.
Is this considered a grant?
Yes, this program, our efforts, was paid for by a Sandy grant. Through Superstorm Sandy. They put some money aside for planning, and the township, to its credit, applied for the funds and made CRS one of their priorities. So everything that we've done over the last year on this for this effort has been paid for by Sandy funds.
That's great.
Yep.
Now, Sandy had a devastating effect on West Atlantic City. West Atlantic City, folks, is just adjacent, contiguous to Atlantic City, but it's lower than Lakes Bay.
Right.
And I can tell you, many of my friends really lost their homes or had severe damage, and some of them. And there was a study done in West Atlantic City, correct?
There was. We looked at all the properties in West Atlantic City. We looked at the properties that have had repetitive losses, repetitive claims. We evaluated homes that need to be elevated. You know, obviously there's some that have been elevated, but there's others that still need funding. We looked at the infrastructure, and still there's some infrastructure demands there. We talked to DOT and their issues regarding Black Horse Pike.
Yep.
So there's not one answer, but you know, at least the township's being aggressive in dealing with the issues out in West Atlantic City.
Yeah, you know, the DOT has really been lax on either elevating the Black Horse Pike there, because even though we have done a great deal of work protecting Bay Avenue and the residents, it still floods.
Right.
And it creates a big problem for our emergency people, our fire department, our police department. We got to shut the road down probably 6 or 7 times a year, and it caused a lot of trouble. What is the PPI, or the Public Information Program?
The Public Information Program is really an outreach program, and what we've done in the township is we've put together a committee of professionals. Your administrator's on it, but also there's a realtor, there's someone in the insurance business, and there's a banker on the committee. And really, they come together and put together a program to keep the public advised on flooding, on flood insurance, on how to deal with these issues. And so the township's more aggressive from a public information standpoint.
Is there any upcoming events that can help the CRS?
There will be. There are regional events that are held just to educate folks about flooding and flood insurance. And then locally, every year, we're going to have a workshop on flood insurance that the residents are invited to come. It'll be advertised in the paper and elsewhere. And at that event, we will do one-on-one counseling for homeowners as to how they may be able to reduce their flood insurance cost.
Right. Recently, we adopted a resolution concerning West Atlantic City with PPI. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, there were a couple resolutions, one for the PPI program and another for the repetitive loss study that was done in West Atlantic City. And the community rating system program asked that the township committee act on those just to show public support. So one to make sure that the elected officials are aware of what we've been doing, and secondly, to show the support that you've offered on these programs.
Right, and the township code recently has been addressed as far as updating the floodplain ordinance.
Yes, we did a couple things, and again, this gets you more points with CRS. We increased the freeboard, which is the distance between the base flood elevation and the elevation that people need to build at. We've also changed the cumulative impact standard, and which affects when a house has to be elevated based on improvements or damages.
Is that Sandy program starting to run out?
To be honest with you, Mayor, I don't think it's going to run out for a long time.
Really?
There's funding every year that's offered. This year it's going to be over $100 million nationally. Mm. New Jersey is targeted. New Jersey's ranked third in the country behind Louisiana and Texas, really to target funds for elevating homes. We all thought after Sandy that the money that we'd recover quickly, mm-hmm. and
right.
this would all be behind us. It's a long-term resolution, and it's going to take a long time.
Talking about long-term, are you aware of any long-term goals the township has as far as the CRS program, other than what you spoke about already?
Well, obviously, you've done a great job. You're where communities that have been in the program for 5, 6, 7 years are at. The next step would be to move up one more step to Class 4, and that'll require a watershed management plan. There are grants available to do that work too, mm-hmm. and that would help the township to address drainage issues long term. So that would be the next step.
Great. Well, I hope everybody that was viewing this program who lives in the potential floodplain area and who has to, because of your mortgages, has to have flood insurance, realize the importance of this CRS program. And Jim Rutala, through his company, has really spearheaded this and really made it happen, assisting Egg Harbor Township with our different departments you had to deal with. I guess your building department and a number of administration and so forth. So I hope you get something out of this meeting and realizing that perhaps you'll be saving as much as $500 in the next year and the coming years because of the work that Jim Rutala and members of our staff took it upon themselves to do. So Jim, again, it's always good to see you. Continue your good work, and if you're got any ideas, folks, that for a program on the Mayor's Forum, please give our Township Administration a call at 926-4044. And thanks for joining us today.
This is an overview of the community rating system. It was developed for communities that participate in the National Flood Insurance Program and are interested in learning more about the CRS. More information is available on our website at crsresources.org. The Community Rating System is part of the National Flood Insurance Program, which is run by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA. The NFIP uses different factors to determine the rates for insurance premiums, including a building's flood zone, elevation, date of construction, and the community in which it's located. Of the 22,000 communities in the NFIP, only 6% have joined the CRS. Though that seems like a small percentage, those communities actually represent 66% of all flood insurance policies. The idea behind CRS is to reduce the premiums in communities where there is better floodplain management, with programs and standards that are above and beyond the minimum requirements of the NFIP. The day-to-day work of the CRS is administered by the Insurance Services Office. Your ISO specialist is the primary person you'll work with at the community level if you're interested in joining the program. The program has 3 goals. The first one is to reduce flood damage to insurable property. The NFIP insures buildings from flood damage, so whatever communities can do to reduce the potential for damage, the CRS wants to support it. The second goal addresses the insurance aspects. Communities can encourage more people to have a flood insurance policy, so there's a larger policy base, and also help with the flood data that's used to rate buildings. The third goal is to have a comprehensive floodplain management program at the community level, including protection for buildings, but also protection for streets, utilities, and natural floodplain functions. Activities are organized under 4 general series of local activities that work toward the 3 goals of CRS. The first is the Public Information Series. That provides credit for activities such as outreach projects, websites, technical assistance, and other things that advise people about the flood hazard. The 400 series provides credit for activities that deal with new development, credit for mapping the floodplain, for keeping parts of the floodplain undeveloped, and higher building standards. The 500 series provides credit for what a community does to reduce losses to development that is already there, buying out or elevating flood-prone structures, maintaining drainage systems, and comprehensive flood protection plans. The 600 series is for the emergency manager. These are activities that can be done before, during, and after a flood to minimize property damage and loss of life. These 4 series form the framework for 19 specific activities that get credit. Within those 19 activities are 94 individual elements where points are provided for what a community does. The total number of points determines your class. Every 500 points gets 1 class improvement. For every class improvement, properties in the special flood hazard area get a 5% reduction in premiums. Communities that have less than 500 points, or that do not participate in the CRS, are Class 10 and receive 0 flood insurance discount. There are about 200 Class 9 communities that receive a 5% insurance premium reduction. More than 450 Class 8 communities receive a 10% discount. The majority of the communities are Class 6 through 9 because those are the classes that need the fewest points. Communities typically join at a Class 9 or Class 8. Over the years, they'll improve their programs or document that they're doing more, and as a result, classes improve over time. There are a series of prerequisites to move to Class 4, such as having a comprehensive floodplain management plan. Only 11 of the 1,273 communities are Class 1 through 4. There are 6 things that you need to do or be doing before you can join. The first is to be in the National Flood Insurance Program in the regular phase for at least 1 year. We'll need word from the FEMA Regional Office that your community is in full compliance with the minimum criteria of the NFIP, which is usually determined by a Community Assistance Visit or CAV. CAVs are conducted for all NFIP communities regardless of CRS participation. Your community needs to be keeping elevation data for new construction in the floodplain using the FEMA Elevation Certificate. About 2/3 of communities have repetitive loss properties. You'll need to map out these properties and see what can be done to reduce their repetitive flood damage. Your community CEO must state that every community-owned building that is required to have a flood insurance policy has one. These are usually buildings in the special flood hazard area that have received federal grants or assistance. When a flood insurance study is done in a coastal area, your community must agree that the LMWA, the limit of moderate wave action, will appear on your final flood insurance rate map. These are the 6 prerequisites to get into the program, but they're also required to stay in the program. The number 1 benefit of the program is that you'll save your residents money. Money that would otherwise go to pay higher flood insurance premiums can stay in your community to be spent at local businesses. Your ISO specialist and your FEMA Regional Office can provide details of those potential savings in your community. Property owners who pay for protection measures with stormwater utilities or property taxes may see those fees offset by their individual savings on their flood insurance. Communities end up with better programs because they work harder to get more points, and there's better coordination between departments. CRS provides technical assistance for a variety of activities, including stormwater management and planning. When public information is one of your activities, your residents are more aware about flood protection, they're proud of what your community is doing, and you end up with a constituency for good floodplain management. And finally, there's an incentive to keep these programs going. When your community hasn't experienced a major flood for a few years, there can be pressure from developers to lower floodplain development standards. Sometimes people forget the importance of good floodplain management and want to eliminate programs. CRS communities are motivated to maintain these programs because losing the credits might raise the insurance premiums on their residents. There's a lot to do and learn about the CRS, and there may be cases where you'd like a little help. We have a lot of resources available to assist you, but your number one resource is your CRS specialist. You can also talk to your FEMA regional office and your state NFIP coordinator. You can talk to other CRS communities by participating in one of the many CRS users groups. There are several websites with more information about the CRS. Floodsmart.gov is a good resource for elected officials, residents, and insurance agents who need a very basic introduction to the program. FEMA.gov also has general information about the program and available training. Go to FEMA.gov and then search for CRS. More detailed information, including the CRS manual, application, and quick check, can be found at crsresources.org. Here you can find information on the individual activities and elements. For training information, including an expanded introduction to the community rating system, visit the training section of our website at crsresources.org.